Well, Tuesday the 11th, and it's a lovely sunny morning. No wind, no rain, a little bit of cloud around. And mainly cleanup going on at the moment. Nothing more. Not unfortunately with our builders, they're not here today because they have jobs working at the barangay and things, and therefore that comes first. Obviously, sorting out what the resident area needs to have done from a public support point of view, which is what Chris is involved in today. So it's not time for getting into our build, as it say. A couple of things I had to point out with the build. I was told we had to buy some more gutter for this, and because we built this extension here on this half, so they had to cut the gutter to fit on here, of course. Well, I thought, okay, but you had a longer piece, so I didn't understand why we had to buy some more gutter for this, quite honestly, because you already had sufficient gutter. You had to cut it shorter to fit on here, as per here, which is the piece of gutter that was cut short to fit on the end here. Yeah, so I was told there was no more gutter, but I found this piece of gutter on the side of the house, and this piece of gutter is fine. So we can use this. I mean, it needs patching up a little bit, sealing, but it's perfectly fine. Why do we need to buy any more gutter? I just said to Richie. We do need to get these side panels in and completed on this side, and of course on this side. Additional bamboo supports for the flooring that we decided to put in afterwards, also on concrete deep bases. And the bases have all been done, but we now need to finish the support structures. Still a bit of rendering to do here on the front part here, and on the inside here to be done. Washroom. This is the pantry. And the bathroom in the next one. So yes, a little bit of a bad day today, bad mood, Simon, today, because it's been one thing after the other since Tatai passed away. Actually, it's been we've had one typhoon, then another typhoon. We've had go slows beyond the norm, and just everything not going quite according to plan. It's that thing I tell you about where I say, oh, don't worry about it. I don't worry about it, really, because I just say to myself, well, you know, this is life. I can't change it. Can't do anything about it. And quite honestly, much rather be here than in the UK, where life is just impossible at the moment, from what I can see, in terms of things going well or according to plan. Here, we just got a plan for it being slow and having to change things and having to repeat ourselves constantly all the time. But yeah, that's life. That's what we do. That's what we do. So priorities are key to always understand here. and even with priorities. I mean, even my wife, she wants to go. She's going on a shopping trip this Thursday with her sister and her auntie. Today after tomorrow. I mean, fine. What can I say? It's Christmas coming up, isn't it? But yeah, I would much rather have priority on this, because it'll be next Christmas when we move into this place, or the Christmas after at this rate. Perhaps I won't even see it. I won't be around. Perhaps that's the idea. That's the idea. We're going to build it for someone else. Well, not for me anyway. But it will have everything I like about it, and that's the important thing. If I want to build something, I want it built to my spec and the way I like it. Someone said, why don't you build it and do the balcony later? I said, because I want the balcony as part of the house. But you could do that later. No, I couldn't. Well, why? And I said, well, because number one, the steps go onto the balcony then to get into the house. If I have to build the balcony later, how am I going to get into the house? I have to build steps that I have to take down later, because I need the... What can I say? Yeah, sometimes life is set to test us, and we just have to be tested. Life is a test everywhere you go. And yeah, you live in your own little world here to some extent. And just try and do your best to guide and confront those issues as they come along. Today I made Attie some porridge. I made Attie some porridge because I was having porridge. I know she loves porridge as well. But because Richie told her to wash her hands or something because she was sweeping and picking stuff up off the ground, she got in a bad mood and wouldn't take the porridge from me. No, go away. She's not interested, don't want it. Apparently she said to Richie to stick it up her ass. So there's a very sensitive type of approach here when it comes to people and things generally. And we just got to live with those sort of things. Well, the flood warnings are still there. Rivers are filling up, so we are... motorbike going by. This is the advantage of going to the back of the compound. It's a big difference in sound when you're in the front here and in the back. Then we have got soundproofing here in the cavities of the walls here, between the walls and the outer walls, and we've got some also in the ceiling, but it's not very good. I think we need to replace it in this building actually at some stage in the future. Anyway, my beef today is more about Richard, the Philippines as a good place to retire to. And for me, I can only speak for me. Of course, it's a good place for me because I am married to Richie and have been for many, many years. So we've lived in the Middle East, we've lived in the UK, and of course we've lived here already for over 2 years. And this is Rich's home, so it's her land. She's already built this house on the compound, and now we're building this other house 100 meters from this one, also on the compound. So of course it makes good economical sense for me to be part of this process of development. Plus family are around us, and they're not a hindrance. They're a token of support as well. Yes, of course, family sometimes need some help and support from us, and we will give it if we can. But we also get support back from them, so that's also very, very key. So yeah, to me, this is a great location based on my circumstances. Living in the Philippines is a great country. People generally are very friendly, and food is much cheaper than it is in the UK, despite the high inflation here as well. But inflation is throughout the world. So, great. But if I was not married to Richie, let's look at it this way. If I was not married to Richie, would I be thinking of the Philippines then as my retirement destination? And that would be more difficult. That would be more difficult for several negative factors I have here. They're not negative factors so much for me, they're as I've got Richie here, as I say, so she will deal with them anyway. But if I was here on my own and had to trust someone I didn't really know, yeah, then there would be big negative factors, and I would have to say then, don't rush it, don't rush that, you know. But let's get into infrastructure first. If I look around me, there's nothing here that entices me to want to be here, based on things like brownouts we have here, you know, power failures, the state of things that are looked after here, like road systems are very bad. You buy a car here, it'd fall to pieces very quickly on these roads we have in the area. I mean, potholes and things like that. Medical cover isn't fantastic here. And yeah, so if you're on your own here, you would learning for the first time, you would find it, you would struggle in this type of environment, coming to the Philippines for the first time. It's not user friendly. It's not, and that's one of the reasons I think why the numbers here are well below Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, etc., and even Cambodia coming into the race now as well. You know, the Philippines doesn't have infrastructure that entices foreigners to invest here, quite honestly. You know, the visa system isn't too bad, but even that's got slightly worse over the last few months. But you would think visas would be the only difficult thing to deal with, but they're not. I mean, the postal service is atrocious here, atrocious. My sister sent me a driving license, or she sent me the driver using special post, thinking let's try it, because see if rather than use registered post. And of course it got to it's got on the plane, it got to Manila within well, the post office on the UK side, they're guaranteeing getting to Manila within a week, and then the guidance from Manila to where I am, which is 4 hours drive away from Manila, could take a further month. But you know, it's been a month, has come and gone, and there's no recollection of anything here in the post office here, and I have the document that says so. No, it's no problem. I can apply for another driving license, of course I can, and that's easy enough to do in the UK. But it just says to you, well, you wouldn't want to send anything really, really important here, because it would be atrocious. You would lose it. Yes, you could send something by DHL, of course, and pay a fortune for it to come here with DHL. But what I've decided to do, when I'm going back to the UK next year, I'll get my my driving license. I've got a copy of my driving license and things like that. So I don't really need it here anyway. At the moment, I'm driving an electronic vehicle, which doesn't require a driving license. Based on the 10 and 12-year-olds I see driving around up and down here as well on them. I'm waiting for someone, a policeman, to stop me and say, excuse me sir, can I see your driving license? And I'll say, do you need one? And he'll say, yes. And I'll say, well, what about all these people around here, like Andre? No, I'm only being a bit, my state of mind as it is at the moment. But that's, yeah, that's what I would say. Infrastructure here is not user-friendly. It's fun, but it's not user-friendly. So why would you want to invest here where you're going to have a lot of headaches, heartaches, trouble, and probably lose half your money, if not all of it, in the process? If you're going to enjoy that journey, it's fine. To me, it's family, so I don't have a problem in, you know, when I'm long gone and Mikey's around and Lexus and drive. I mean, they're going to have to worry and deal with this anyway. And say, why did Dad do this? Why did Dad sell? Yeah, that's all they'll say. And I'll tell them, of course, on these videos. But yeah, Philippines is a great place to invest. There are other good things. Something I learned actually as a Brit in the Philippines from another channel is, as you know, pensions are frozen in many countries at a certain rate. So you don't get the triple lock or the inflation rate in many countries around the world, be it countries like Canada or Australia or South Africa, or many countries in fact. But in this country, one of a few countries where as pension goes up in the UK, it also goes up for me here as well. So I am entitled to the pension at the current inflationary rate that it gains in the UK. I didn't actually know that, but I haven't been here long enough to appreciate that either. The HMRC have my address here, and they know I'm here. This is my address. They also have my address in the UK, which is my sister's address actually, but the reason I've given them that address, and it's understood why, is because proof of life, or anything in the post, I've said send it there, and I can then deal with it, because I know if they're looking at for anything from me, my sister can then relay it to me via WhatsApp or when we talk every other week, and so I can then deal with things. If I didn't have that and they just sent it in the post, which they would do, the chances are it wouldn't get here. Now that's another, and I've noticed this with lots of Brits that are also tubers here that are English, that are getting a pension from the UK every year or every 2 years. They might ask for a proof of life, especially as you get older and closer to your 80s, I would say. I'm, actually they didn't ask for proof of life for me. They asked for proof of residence, because when I left my residence, and I'd already told them where I was going in the form, but they wanted proof. Okay, and I thought, okay, but they didn't. They sent a letter in the normal post to here, and of course I didn't get it. So the first time I get it is when I have to get my sister to phone the pension, and they said, well, where does he live? And they said, we've got an address in the Philippines, but there's no response. And on that basis, I found out, well, the postal service is not very good here, so, and they're not going to send it by DHL. Now they will send it to my sister's address, who can communicate it to me on my behalf, so I can do that. But they look for it now you can do this online as well these days as well. So once you have got notification, you can phone them, and I've spoken to the pension from here to sort out problems before, when they freeze your pension, because they froze the pension as well. That's how that's how I learned that they were looking for information from me. I was on my birthday, May the 12th. My pension was being paid in on the May the 11th, and it didn't get paid in. Oh. And then I had to dig deep and found it. So that's okay. 4 weeks later, I got double pension. So it gets sorted out. It's not train smash stuff. But when you're here, you've got to deal with these sort of things, obviously. It's easier to deal with them when you're living in the UK, of course. But that's one advantage about the Philippines. The UK have got an agreement with the Philippines where we have don't ask me why, but my pension continues to go with the inflation of the UK, which is great. But many of the other, and of course the other great thing here, of course, English is spoken to some degree. English is recognised as a second language, and so it can be spoken here in the communities around you. I wouldn't call this an English-speaking country. It's a long way from that, of course. But the signposts are in English, forms are in English. So it's not like living in China
or the Middle East, where official formats are in Arabic or in Chinese, or you don't have any of that problem to deal with, which I've had to deal with before. And of course, if there was anything in Tagalog, Richie can speak Tagalog anyway very well and can translate and talk to me about things like that anyway. But no, I think where Brits would be coming here for the first time to retire and never been here before, the culture shock and the lack of infrastructure and the fact that it's not very user-friendly for long-term stay for Westerners, in my view. So you've got to love the basic simplicity of life. Living here, to me, I explain it like living in my grandmother's house in the 1950s, the late 1950s, when I was a 4-year-old, you know, the outside loo and all that kind of stuff. And she lived in a country location as well, called Castle Ashby. And I have fond memories of it. And I also spent a lot of time living in South Africa, and I particularly loved living in the Lowveld. And again, it was similar because simplicity again. You know, you weren't in a big city and you made do with what was available. And I kind of like that. So those things you can deal with. Typhoons and things like that, natural things, don't worry me. I don't, yeah, obviously want to see lots of people lose their homes, lose their lives in that. I mean, obviously, but that's the reality of what we face in this part of the world. They are getting stronger, they are getting more frequent, there's no doubt, due to the climate change. But there is better technology these days to warn people. So despite these huge weather fronts that hit us, these tropical cyclones, even here has got sort of technology that warns people, in most cases, in advance and gets people out of harm's way. Nevertheless, there's still scary things to go through, and there are still a number of fatalities always. Although imagine if no one was prepared for it at all, and it would be that on the coastlines in particular and in the mountains, it would be catastrophic. Earthquakes, more difficult to predict. We have those as well here. We had 2 earthquakes earlier this year. And we have volcanoes. So we have volcanoes, earthquakes, typhoons, whatever there is, we have it in this environment. So, yeah, I mean, and that applies to a lot of Southeast Asia. So you've got to bear all that in mind as well, of course. Understand where you're coming. This is not coming to Spain, or, you know, like retiring in Spain, retiring in Portugal, retiring in Italy or Greece or Turkey or any of these places. Well, Turkey has earthquakes as well, but most places where Brits retire to and invest their little holiday homes in is these kind of places. It's not like that. It's not like that. And it's also a great deal more expensive to fly home if you're going to spend, say, a few months here, or 6 months here even, and then 6 months back in the UK. Of course, if you're doing that as well, now you've got to consider 2 addresses, 2 costs. It may not be so expensive to do it here, but keeping your address and your utility options open and everything does cost a lot of money when you're doing it there. Maybe if you have even if you have a static home, one of these large one of these large sort of caravans, static caravans on a site, you know, your site fees are expensive. Yes, you can rent them out. I know you're probably saying maybe. There's complications with that as well, of course. And then you can't always use them throughout the whole year, of course. You have to vacate them at certain times in the year, usually in the winter, so it wouldn't affect you. But when you want to stay there in the summer months of the UK, let's say if you're going in the summer months, you would be losing your income at its greatest point when you're there. Actually, I think, staying in winter in one is also pretty fun. I have done when I came from Kuwait one time. I took one for a period of time, and it was in the winter. It was well insulated. It was warm. It was cozy, and it was fun. So yes, I've done that. But there are costs of doing that. Even if it's having one of those, having a home of that size there. Yeah, and yes, you can always rent something for 6 months, of course. Also expensive. UK is not cheap, so you'd be talking I don't know, 1,000 plus a month, I would think, for renting a place, and then you're going to, have other costs, getting around, eating, all these kind of things. You're going to have an expensive time being in somewhere that you wouldn't necessarily want to be in for 6 months, in my view. And then you've got your costs of going there and coming back as well. No, I love it here in that respect. I don't have the need for that type of. I'd rather, if I'm going to go and see a bit more of Japan, go and see Malaysia, go and see Singapore, go and see China, go and see Taiwan, Indonesia, even go and see places a bit further away, like Australia, Melbourne or somewhere like that. Go and spend a few weeks would be more practical and probably cheaper than going back to the UK. For me, with all the frustrations of doing things and having a bad day after a long typhoon, it's quite. And I'm talking as I think in many, but this is still for me home. Okay, this is home, and despite having porridge nearly thrown at me this morning, and other things not happening around me, this is still, to me, this is home. So, but this is me, and not everyone can be me, and that's the point I want to make. Is it to recommend it for anybody? Oh yeah, come here and you'll love it. It's you got to come here and test the water yourself. And I would also look at other places like Vietnam, cheaper than here. Cambodia, much cheaper than here. Thailand, much better infrastructure than here for sure. Malaysia, very good health service and much better infrastructure as well. It's not all here, is what I'm saying. It's not all here. There are things in other locations that might also work for you. Now, I'm hoping Philippines are going to do a lot of things towards infrastructure in the coming years. They're going to make things better. I think they could easily become top dogs in Southeast when it comes to tourism. They've got all the natural aspects to make it so. Over 7,500 islands, beautiful elements of these locations. But they've got to get their infrastructure right. They've got to get their focus right. They've got to get their politics right. They've got to get a lot of things right, I think. Then they could be they could climb significantly into being many things. But that's not there at the moment. And there are some. You can walk into parts of the Philippines, in city environments. You can walk into Makati or walk into BGC, and it's like living in Singapore if you were in those environments. Now, I wouldn't want to live in Singapore, so I wouldn't want to live in BGC or Makati. Go there for a weekend, fine, but I wouldn't want to live in that environment. If I was going to live in an environment like that, I'd probably choose a different city altogether. Probably Barcelona or Prague or, you know, in a funny kind of way, even Istanbul. But so that's the point. But I'm not a city. I'm not looking for a city environment. I'm looking for a country, rural environment, and that's what I've got. But more importantly, I have Richie, who I've been married to a long time, and despite everything else, we know what each of us like, and are committed in that respect. And her family are here, and that's also long term as well. So it's her family, it's my family. You know, I say her family is my family, and that's the way I regard it. So we work that way. Take care.